There is an aphorism by Nietzsche in The Gay Science that says, "We are no longer at home anywhere, we are beginning to feel the tentacles of the crowd tightening around us." This observation by Nietzsche refers to the idea that humanity has created systems of control that keep individuals from living authentically. These systems often take the form of societal norms, expectations, and values that limit personal freedom and creativity. Nietzsche believed that individuals must transcend these limitations and embrace their true nature in order to reach their full potential. Nietzsche frequently criticized what he called herd mentality, the tendency of people to conform to the values and beliefs of the majority. This conformity, according to Nietzsche, stifles individuality and prevents people from achieving greatness. He argued that those who follow the herd are often motivated by fear of standing out or being different. This fear leads them to adopt the values of the majority, even when these values contradict their true desires and instincts. The herd mentality is rooted in the desire for safety and comfort. By conforming to the norms of the group, individuals can avoid conflict and the risk of rejection. However, Nietzsche saw this as a form of self-betrayal. By suppressing their true selves, individuals become mere shadows of what they could be. Nietzsche believed that greatness could only be achieved by those who dared to break free from the herd and follow their own path, even if it meant facing adversity and isolation. To overcome the herd mentality, Nietzsche suggested embracing the concept of the Übermensch, or Overman. The Übermensch represents an individual who has transcended the limitations of society and achieved a higher state of being. This individual creates their own values and lives authentically, guided by their own instincts and desires. The Übermensch is not concerned with the opinions of others or the expectations of society. Instead, they strive for self-mastery and personal excellence. Nietzsche also emphasized the importance of embracing struggle and hardship as a path to growth and self-discovery. He believed that adversity could help individuals develop their strength and character. By facing challenges head-on, rather than avoiding them, individuals could overcome their fears and limitations. This process of self-overcoming is central to Nietzsche's philosophy. One of the key steps to overcoming the herd mentality is to develop a strong sense of self-awareness. Nietzsche believed that individuals must examine their own beliefs and values to determine whether they are truly their own or simply inherited from society. This requires courage and honesty, as it often involves questioning long-held assumptions and confronting uncomfortable truths about oneself. Another important aspect of Nietzsche's philosophy is the rejection of traditional morality. He argued that conventional moral values often serve the interests of the herd rather than the individual. These values, which he referred to as slave morality, promote conformity, obedience, and mediocrity. Nietzsche encouraged individuals to create their own moral code based on their unique perspective and experiences. In Thus Spoke Zarathustra, Nietzsche tells the story of Zarathustra, a prophet who descends from the mountains to share his wisdom with humanity. Zarathustra challenges the values of the herd and calls on individuals to embrace their inner strength and creativity. He speaks of the death of God and the need for humanity to take responsibility for its own destiny. Through Zarathustra, Nietzsche presents his vision of a new way of living that transcends the limitations of traditional society. Nietzsche's critique of the herd mentality is especially relevant in today's world, where social media and mass communication have amplified the pressure to conform. The desire for likes, followers, and validation from others often leads people to prioritize external approval over their own authenticity. This creates a culture of superficiality and conformity that Nietzsche would have likely found deeply troubling. Despite the challenges of breaking free from the herd, Nietzsche's philosophy offers a powerful reminder of the importance of individuality and self-expression. By embracing our true selves and rejecting the limitations of societal norms, we can strive for a more authentic and fulfilling existence. Nietzsche's vision of the Übermensch serves as an inspiring ideal for those who seek to overcome the constraints of the herd and realize their full potential. Nietzsche wrote, "I suspect that the situation is going from bad to worse. Society is declining towards a more comfortable prototype of a person, conformist, indifferent, ignorant, weak, fearful, and mediocre. This is the greatest fatality." In The Genealogy of Morality, Nietzsche investigates the origin and development of traditional moral concepts such as good and evil, altruistic morality, and morality based on resentment. He proposes that these concepts are neither universal nor objective but have their roots in human history and psychology. The book is made up of 3 interrelated essays in which Nietzsche carries out a critical analysis of traditional morality. In the first essay, he examines the evolution of the concepts of good and evil from a historical and etymological perspective. In the second essay, he delves into the origin of the feeling of guilt and how it has been used to oppress and control people throughout history. The third essay explores the relationship between the morality of the weak and the morality of the strong, arguing that traditional values have been inverted to favor the weak to the detriment of the strong. In the preface to his classic work on the genealogy of morality, Nietzsche wrote about the possibility that the regressive trait also characterizes the good man as a danger, a temptation, a poison, so that the present is lived at the expense of the future, perhaps with more comfort and less danger, but also in a smaller and meaner way. He argued that morality itself might be to blame if men never achieved the maximum power and splendor possible for them. For Nietzsche, this morality was the danger of dangers. Most people do not question why things are considered morally good or bad, but rather adopt the predominant value judgments of good and evil in their society. According to Nietzsche, the dominant morality in the West has been an unnatural morality that turns against the instincts of life. He foresaw this morality reigning over the Western world for the foreseeable future, seeing it as a morality in which all individuals, even those with the potential to rise above the mediocre mass, are pressured to become smaller, almost ridiculous, herd animals, eager to please, sickly, and mediocre. Why does this unnatural morality, a poison that has spread throughout the body of humanity, gain dominance over Western civilization? To answer this question, Nietzsche's categorization of individuals into two distinct types, the superior human beings and those who belong to the herd, must be examined. Within the category of superior human beings, there are two main types. First, there are the creative pioneers, men of great creativity who, through a rare combination of nature and nurture, dedicate their lives to a craft and provide the world with amazing works of beauty. Alongside creative geniuses, there remain the more numerous superior human beings who do not scale the heights of genius and remain hidden from public view. The lives of these superior human beings do not differ qualitatively from the lives of creative geniuses. Both share similar character traits that separate them from the herd. Superior humans have a unifying life project and are consumed by the impulse to realize their noble objectives. This unifying project is not undertaken for short-term gratification but as a result of the vast historical perspective of the superior man. It is a form of work carried out under the gaze of centuries, a goal whose effects will last long after the physical death of superior men. As Nietzsche wrote in Human, All Too Human, the modern individual focuses too much on their own short life and desires to harvest the fruit themselves from the tree they plant. For this reason, modern people no longer like to plant trees that require a century of constant care and are intended to provide shade for a long succession of generations. For this type of lofty work, the superior man requires solitude and freedom from the flock of innumerable small and pitiful men. As Nietzsche wrote, the concept of greatness implies being noble, wanting to be alone, being able to be different, standing out, and having to live independently. The superior man remains oblivious to the petty concerns that occupy the flock and is immune to both praise and criticism from the masses. There is a loneliness within him that is inaccessible to praise or blame, a righteousness beyond the conscious appeal of the transcendental task before him and the potential for greatness that resides in it. The superior man feels a sense of reverence towards himself and, even in the presence of great suffering, affirms life as a proud and well-formed human being who is sure of the future. In contrast to these superior human beings, there are the many, the flock. The flock is made up of two types, the last man and the slave. The last man is the mediocre man par excellence who only seeks comfort and contentment, an end that makes him lazy and contemptible. The last man completely lacks any internal creative impulse and is blind to the superior values that make creativity possible. In contrast, the slave is a weak and sickly human being who suffers from himself and is full of what Nietzsche called resentment, a hatred of life generated by feelings of helplessness in the face of an overwhelming and threatening external reality. Nietzsche wrote, "There is among men, as in all other animal species, an excess of failures, of degenerate patients, who necessarily suffer. The successful cases are always the exception among men. The presence of resentment provokes feelings of envy within the slave toward all those who do not suffer as they do, that is, toward superior human beings. This envy motivates the slave to take revenge on the superior by joining forces to obtain a communal feeling of power, the only type of power available to the slave. Under the pretext of calls for equality, the slave seeks to level down all those who are above him through the construction of a slave or herd morality. This herd morality is the morality of the weak par excellence. It is a morality that has been taught as the only morality until now. Nietzsche called it the morality of selflessness, a morality that reveals a will to purpose, but one that fundamentally denies life. Herd morality inverts the natural values of life. The individual who is strong and independent, who achieves feelings of power spontaneously through their creative efforts and great health, is considered bad by herd morality. On the other hand, all those who belong to the herd, the mediocre last men, the weak and impotent slaves, and the vengeful disguised as judges, are considered good. Nietzsche writes, "The slave becomes resentful. He wishes and sighs for revenge. He suffers, he murmurs, he laments, and cannot stop looking with envy at the person he hates, precisely because he cannot help but admire him. Herd morality is the danger of dangers because of its ability to seduce those who are anxious and fearful of the uncertainty and isolation associated with striving for greatness. In their confusion and longing to rest from themselves, to free themselves from what oppresses them, herd morality acts as the voice of the sirens. It offers the potential superior man an escape from his overwhelming destiny into the comfort of mediocrity and immersion in the masses. If herd morality becomes too effective in tearing down all that is higher and extraordinary, nihilism will creep over the world. Without the higher values embodied by superior men, values such as creativity, works of astonishing beauty, and the ability to strive for ideals, these elements will be absent. Instead, the values of comfort and contentment, so appreciated by the herd, will dominate. As a result, the flock will engulf all humanity, and existence will be deprived of its great character. Nietzsche's fears about such a world were expressed in a passage from the Genealogy of Morality. Nietzsche wrote, "We see nothing today that wants to become bigger. We suspect that things will continue to diminish, to become thinner, more benevolent, more prudent, more comfortable, more mediocre, more indifferent. This is precisely where it has become a fatality. Along with the fear of man, we have also lost our love for him, our reverence for him, our hopes for him, even our will toward him." In an attempt to prevent future generations from succumbing to this all-embracing leveling effect, Nietzsche spent a great deal of time in his work undertaking a re-evaluation of values. He hoped to diminish the effect of herd morality on the development of superior men. Such a re-evaluation depends on the realization that herd morality is not an objective, universal morality binding to all. Instead, it is simply a type of human morality, after which many other types, especially higher moralities, should be possible. The superior individual must realize that the ideas of the herd must rule within the herd but should not extend beyond it. He must not pay attention to the universal claims of herd morality. Instead, he must discover his own higher values to help fulfill his unifying life project. By discovering these values, the superior man realizes that as a highly differentiated individual with a unique vision of life, his good is his alone. Therefore, he should not preach or impose his superior morality on others. Since there are numerous individuals in our time who wish to persecute and tear down those who rise above the mediocre mass, masking their envy with calls for equality, Nietzsche's ideas may seem elitist and unpleasant to many. But Nietzsche's ideas were not intended for the multitude. He wrote, "Our highest perceptions must and should sound like madness and sometimes do when they are listened to without permission by those who are not predisposed and predestined for them." Nietzsche was deeply concerned with ensuring that the world remained fertile for the growth of true human excellence. Therefore, he wrote only for the superior man, urging them to overcome the temptations of herd morality and instead follow their own heroic path in life. By doing so, they could provide inspiration for future generations of potential superior men. However, Nietzsche was not optimistic that the future would be kind to the existence of superior human beings. Herd morality, he argued, is a powerful beast with the force of the majority behind it. For the past 2 millennia, it has waged a common war against all that is rare, strange, privileged, and extraordinary. It undermines things like the higher soul, higher duty, higher responsibilities, and the abundance of creative power and mastery. Herd morality not only underpins socialist ideologies, whose advocates Nietzsche referred to as flatheads seeking to bring about the degeneration and diminution of man into the perfect herd animal, but also numerous social justice movements that threaten to immerse the Western world in a new wave of herd morality. Since herd morality is alive and well today, we can, together with Nietzsche, raise a question that he considered highly relevant in his time and that remains so in ours. Is it truly possible to achieve greatness? Beyond this question of whether true greatness is possible today, the persistence of herd morality should be a cause for concern. From another angle, despite the innocent facade it shows with calls for equality, the slave does not wish to change the world for the better. Instead, driven by resentment and envy, he seeks social and political power with the purpose of causing destruction as compensation for his own powerlessness and failures. Nietzsche's vision becomes a pertinent warning for the modern world. He writes, "When some men do not achieve what they wish to do, they exclaim with anger, 'Cursed world! What a disgrace this life is!' This repulsive emotion is the peak of envy, whose implication is, if I cannot have something, no one can have anything. If I am nothing, no one should be anything." This, Nietzsche warns, is the greatest of the misfortunes that can strike humanity. To finish, I quote one of my favorite phrases from Nietzsche's writings. The phrase is part of the book Thus Spoke Zarathustra, specifically found in the third part of the work in the chapter entitled The Underground Man. In this passage, Nietzsche uses the metaphor of the tree to illustrate the duality inherent in human nature, where the impulse toward what is high and luminous coexists with the tendency toward what is dark and profound, even toward evil. I end by quoting, "The same as the tree, The more it wants to rise towards height and towards the light, the more strongly its roots tend towards the earth and downward, towards the dark, the deep, towards evil. Remember to subscribe and hit the like button for more videos and to help us reach more people.